Top 5 U.S. Secret missions that went belly up. Before we start, I would want you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Insane Worlds. 5. Thin thread. In a report for the Baltimore Sun, Siobhan Gorman writes that, although the 1990s pilot program Thin Thread could analyze massive amounts of telephonic communications more quickly and efficiently than the rival Trailblazer program, the National Security Agency, NSA, ultimately rejected Thin Thread due largely to bureaucratic infighting. Thin Thread was seen as a threat to Trailblazer, the $1.2 billion program favored by the NSA. According to an unnamed member of the intelligence community, Thin Thread would humiliate those who supported Trailblazer because the former would perform better at sifting through phone data than the latter. Besides, critics maintained Thin Thread was too aggressive, and its collection of data from domestic communications could violate American citizens' civil liberties. The debate led to a flip-flop, as those who had initially supported Thin Thread came to back the adoption of Trailblazer instead, despite Trailblazers being the inferior surveillance program. 4. Operation Chaos. During the presidency of Lyndon B. Johnson, the CIA initiated Operation Chaos to conduct secret domestic surveillance on suspected American radicals. Under President Richard Nixon, the program was expanded. New York Times reporter Seymour Hersh knew that he was onto a major expose when he discovered that, during Operation Chaos, the CIA had amassed a mountain of illegal domestic intelligence. Aghast, Senator Frank Church chaired a committee to investigate the charges. Among other disturbing facts, the committee found that Operation Chaos had resulted in the creation of 7,200 files on American citizens. Although the massive campaign resulted in no links between the most prominent peace movement leaders and U.S. embassies, reaching the conclusion that the indigenous social movements were based on ideological differences with President Nixon's foreign and domestic policies, the CIA continued its politically sensitive domestic spying program until 1973, when it was feared, correctly, that the program would be discovered. 3. The Black Chamber. Ironically, the American Black Chamber, aka MI8, was too successful for its own good. As Glenn P. Hastert, author of Spies, Wiretaps and Secret Operations, writes, this precursor to the NSA operated out of the second story of a building in New York City. Headed by cryptologist Herbert O. Yardley, it was financed by the Department of State. Although the building's first-floor tenant, the Code Compilation Company, earned a modest profit by providing cryptographic services to local businesses, it was actually a front for its upstairs neighbor. The Black Chamber was highly successful at deciphering ciphers and other coded messages until Secretary of State Henry Stimson, shocked to learn of the clandestine organization, shut down the office in 1929. As a result, Yardley wrote the American Black Chamber 2 years afterward, reasoning, as Hastert observes, that secrecy regarding the mission was unnecessary now that the Black Chamber had ceased operations. The Japanese purchased numerous copies of Hastert's book, leading them to change all their codes in government and trade. Other countries followed their lead. 2. Bigfoot. The FBI's website displays letters, memorandums, newspaper clippings, and photographs regarding its collaboration with Peter Byrne, director of the Bigfoot Information Center and Exhibition in Oregon. In his December 1976 response to Byrne's November 24, 1976, letter, Jay Cochran, assistant director of the FBI's Scientific and Technical Services Division, agrees to test hairs and tissue that may be those of Bigfoot and invites Byrne to send the specimens to the FBI laboratory in the J. Edgar Hoover Building in Washington, D.C. In a letter dated September 10, 1976, Cochran advises Byrne that, contrary to Byrne's statement that the FBI is alleged to have examined hair supposedly of a Bigfoot, no references to such examinations can be found in FBI files. However, Cochran writes, in a letter to Byrne dated February 24, 1977, that the FBI laboratory did, in fact, conducted light microscopy of Byrne specimens, which revealed them to be hairs of deer family origin. Case closed? It would seem so. As Popular Mechanics Riley points out, FBI files are released only when a subject is deceased, which not only points to the figure being real, but also suggests that the agency believes it is dead. 1. War on drugs. In June 1971, an international war on drugs led by the U.S. got underway. It continues today, despite the fact that many judge the global conflict to have failed. Ironically, for a time, as Rhodri Jeffreys-Jones points out in the second edition of Cloak and Dollar, A History of American Secret Intelligence, the CIA was involved in the drug trade. In fact, as a book by Alfred McCoy laid out, the agency transported opium grown by anti-communist Laotian tribesmen. The agency's hope of suppressing McCoy's exposé, like its desire to defend itself against charges of its long-standing involvement in the world's prime heroin-producing regions, was hampered, the author states, by the constraints of national security. Tangled, questionable international relationships made any such defense even more difficult. For example, Jeffreys-Jones observes that in Panama, General Manuel Noriega wasn't just on the CIA payroll, but he also served the KGB and the notorious Colombian cocaine cartels. On the U.S. home front, the war went from bad to worse. Although the Reagan-Bush years showed improvement, with a sharp decline in the number of Americans who were regular users of illicit drugs, the downward trend reversed during the 1990s, Jeffreys-Jones says. More citizens used heroin, and the age of drug users dropped from the average age of 26.6 years old in 1990 to 17.6 years old 7 years later. The answer, President Bill Clinton suggested, might be to set the CIA loose on global drug traffickers. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.